Hello folks, Bill Vales here. For today's show, we are going to talk about how to purchase a computer. And my guest today is Nancy Hilsinger. Nancy is our editor at LCTV and is a skilled computer user that has purchased several computers and related devices. Nancy, welcome to Tech Talk.
Thanks, Bill. I'm glad to be here, I think.
You're convincing.
I'm convincing.
Nancy, I've seen your computer laboratory and would say that you have a fair amount of experience purchasing computers. That's one of the reasons I suggested you join me on this show. Can you describe to the audience a few of the systems you have?
Well, at the moment, I have 3 PCs. I bought one in 2005, one in 2011, and then I just bought one this past July. I mainly use the last 2. The older one is just for checks and things. I have 1 laptop, 1 iMac, 1 iPad, 4 printers, and a scanner. Actually, I'm using my iPad right now as a little mini teleprompter.
Oh, you're not supposed to tell people that.
Well, I don't want expectations to be that I can remember all this stuff.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well, you know, having been in the computer business for many years, I understand the need for having several systems to do different tasks. For this show, I thought it would be good if we discussed for the average user how they can go about purchasing a system, because it can be a somewhat daunting task to try to wrap your arms about. So what would you say are some of the big issues that a first-time user should consider, or for that matter, any user should consider?
Well, I think the 3 big things are what do I buy, what features do I need, and how much will it cost? And I think the first one is usually answered when you figure out the second 2. What do I buy is determined by what do I need and how much will it cost?
Yeah, figuring out your requirements for anything is really important. And we always have to fight off being that impulsive buyer.
Right.
Where you wake up one day and you say, I need a computer, and boom, you go out and buy a computer. That's really not a good
That would
thing to
usually
do.
be me.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you go about figuring this out? What are
Well,
some
as you
steps
just
might
said, the
take?
first thing is don't rush into it. You'll be tempted to rush into it, but don't. You really need to do some research. You need to, but you need to be sure your information sources are reliable. Read articles about buying computers. Talk to people who have computers. Ask them to help you do some online research. Go to stores and look around, but leave your credit cards at home.
Leave your credit cards at home.
Because it's too tempting. You'll get in the store and, oh, I have to have that, and then you go.
Yep.
And of course, the most important thing is to watch Tech Talk.
Watching Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Yeah, we're trying to help you out.
We're helping you out.
With some of these decisions. In preparing this show, we decided to divide the set of buyers into really 2 categories. And those categories are the first-time buyer,
Right.
okay, and the current user upgrading their system. Because once you've purchased a computer once, you've entered this constant cycle
Right.
of upgrading,
Right.
buying something new, upgrading and upgrading. Now, budget is always a consideration for both types of users, and it's very important to understand the needs. I can't express just how important it is to understand your requirements for anything you do, for any purchase you're going to make. You know, ask yourselves the questions: why do I need to purchase this? And what am I going to do with this?
Right.
What am I going to do with this? What are some of the other determinations and things that you should think of for determining the total cost of what you might be?
I think that's the key word, total cost, because you think, oh, I'm buying a computer and this is how much it costs, and then that's it, I don't need anything else. But you have to consider other things that you may need, like you might need other hardware, you might need a monitor. Used to be they was included in the price, but now they're not, so you have to buy it separately. Then what kind do you get? Blah, blah, blah. Do you need a printer? Do you need special software like word processing, spreadsheets, financial software, like Quicken or QuickBooks or something like that. And also, big one for me is digital photography editing. I use that quite a bit. Do you need internet service? Verizon, Comcast, Time Warner, there's others.
Yeah, and typically if you're a first-time user,
You wouldn't have it.
You may not have
That's
internet
right,
service.
right.
So you need to
Ka-ching,
think about
ka-ching, yeah.
getting that, and there is a cost
Yeah.
associated
Yeah.
with that.
And you also have to figure out, do you need any hardware associated with that? Might not be much, but still, it's something else to think about. Usually that's a cable modem or a router. Now, and a router. A router is only if you have more than one computer, I think.
Well, it's also, if you're going with a large internet service provider like Verizon or Comcast, they will usually make available to you the hardware that
Right, okay.
that you need. So,
But not free. Nothing is free.
nothing is really free.
That's right.
Okay. And of course, another thing that you have to consider too, are you going to need training and support
Right.
to help you through the entire process?
Right.
Okay. Because this is a learning experience. Okay.
Absolutely.
Once you've decided to embark on this sort of technology, you're going to be learning new things
right.
all the time. There's certainly, like you said, there's certainly more to consider than just buying a computer. So you determine your needs. We came up with a list of items that a first-time buyer should think about. What are some of the things that are on that list?
Well, at the top of the list, you have to ask yourself, will you travel with this computer? And that gets down to making the decision about whether you get a desktop unit or a laptop. Now, the desktop units are cheaper, but they're tied down to one location.
Sure, they're larger.
Larger, and then laptops are portable and easy to move, but they are usually more expensive.
True.
And again, whichever type you choose, where are you going to put it? You need some kind of workspace. And don't be fooled into thinking just because you have a laptop, you don't have to worry about where to put it. You do, because
Right.
there'll be times when you're sitting down just using it. So,
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
And seldom can you comfortably use your laptop on your lap.
Correct.
They've gotten larger, they generate a lot of heat,
Yep.
and you really do need a flat surface.
Except on TV where people sit on couches and chairs.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that. 'Cause
Yeah,
that
and
doesn't
the
work.
reality of that is you really can't
No, you can't.
work that way that long. Now, some of the examples of the types of things you might use the computer for. Email is usually an obvious thing. People say, I want to send email to people, and I want to do some internet browsing. And maybe if you're first learning about the internet, you don't even know what browsing is, so you may refer to that in some other way, but you want to look around the internet and see what's there.
You'll figure it out pretty quickly.
Yeah, you will. You may want to use social media. Perhaps you want to use Facebook or LinkedIn to talk to friends or family, something like that. You may want to watch movies. There's a lot of movies that are available, movies and TV that are available on the internet through streaming services. You may want to organize photographs, okay? You take a lot of photographs. I have tens of thousands of photographs that I have organized on the internet. Video calling with friends and family. Or maybe you want to do internet gaming. And gaming is kind of a special animal because gaming requires some special more high-powered computers. So we're going to leave gaming off to the side. Now, whatever things you think you're going to use, that list is going to grow as soon as you get the computer and start using it.
Right.
And start talking to friends and family.
Right.
And they're going to tell you, geez, I use it for XYZ, and you're going to be thinking, geez, I want to use it for that. So in order to make the right choice, it's important to understand some of the parts of the computer. We just can't ignore that. You want to say a few things about that?
Well, it can get very confusing, and this is again where you need to do some research and get some help. It's really necessary that you understand the workings of the computer, at least from a high level.
Why is that?
Well, you don't want to buy a system that's not going to meet your needs. You have to, there's a certain amount of power that you need, certain features, storage capacity that you need to get whatever job you're doing done. And you also have to allow room to grow. My advice would be get a little more stuff than you think you need today, because you're going to grow and your expertise is going to grow and you're going to say, oh, I wish I had whatever. A good example of that with me is digital photography that you mentioned. When my first digital camera I bought in 2005, took me a while to get with the program, but that was the year I bought what's now my oldest computer. I never in my wildest imagination thought I would have as many photographs as I have now on my computer. So as time went on, I had to upgrade and get more storage capacity. So it's things you don't have any idea you're going to use it for, you use it for.
And it's also important to recognize that you can't anticipate everything you're going to need it for, and at some time, like an automobile, it gets tired, it gets old, and you will have to buy something new. Now, some of the parts of the computer that we have to talk about, and we were going to talk about it on this show, but we quickly realized that there was no way we were going to be able to fit all this in. But some of the parts that we're going to talk about on another show, I'd like to list now, and that is, what is the processor, or the CPU of the system? What is RAM? Okay, RAM is a important factor. What is a hard disk? What is Wi-Fi? Why do I need Wi-Fi? What is USB? All of these things at least require a superficial understanding of what they are. You don't need to know all the details about them, but you need to understand that they really are important. And we're going to cover those on another show, but we realized there's no chance of doing that today.
Or several.
So another major item that we need to consider, or you, the user, needs to consider, is the operating system. And how would you describe what the operating system is?
Well, the operating system is the most important software that runs on the computer. It manages all the other programs in the computer. And all computer programs require an operating system to function. Without it, the computer's useless. Can't do anything.
So the operating system is actually what provides the main look and feel to the user. So most of us think in terms of using a Windows system with the Windows operating system, and there's different versions of that. But there's also Macintosh, has its operating system known as OS X. And there's other operating systems such as Linux and Unix, but those would tend to be systems that first-time buyers are really not going to use. So after we learn all this, or after you learn all this, are we ready to buy a system?
Sure.
Okay. Where would we go to purchase a system?
Oh, many places.
Such as?
Well, you can go to the big box stores, you can go to local stores, you can do mail order or a phone order, and when you buy your next computer, you can do it online.
Yeah, well, that's true. I would add that wherever you buy your system from, depending on the type of buyer you are, some people like buying local, so if they have a problem, they have something to go back to, someone to go back to ask questions, and that may be difficult to do at a big box store, and near impossible to do if you buy it online.
Yes.
Okay, so those sorts of considerations are really the same sorts of things that we consider when we make really any purchase.
Although the last one I bought, I did buy online from the manufacturer, and I had a little bit of a problem, but then I got to do an online chat, which is a whole nother ballgame.
Yeah.
But it got me through it.
Yeah.
So if you go to the right places, there is help.
Yeah. Well, in your case, where I consider you a power user, you're familiar with a lot of these other technologies. So engaging in online chat with the supplier of the system that you bought online was not a daunting problem. But for a first-time buyer,
hopeless.
That's a big problem. So to summarize, we have to do your homework, okay? Which means understand your requirements, understand your budget. Don't rush into a purchase, okay? Which again says understand your requirements, understand your budget, understand your needs, what you're going to use this for, and find trusted resources to help you understand, okay? Friends, colleagues, family, resources such as Tech Talk, magazines, but start learning, because once you get engaged in this, you're really going to be on a learning curve, and you're going to be, learning a lot of new things.
Trusted being the operative word.
Yeah,
Trusted. You have to have some sources you trust, because there's a lot of bad information out there.
There is.
And people mean to be helpful, but it is, you got to get this.
Right.
And so you have to be careful.
Yeah, trusted information. Can you think of anything else?
Oh, probably lots of things. But for now, I'd say this is an ongoing learning experience, and just have fun with it. You will find, if you've never had a computer before, you'll love it, and you'll find things that you never thought you'd use it for. So it's a good thing.
Well, we still have a lot to cover on this. I can see in the next segment we'll go over what some of those components are to sort of give some ideas about that. But I think we have a great start here to frame the problem and how to go about it. Nancy, I want to thank you for being here and providing your experience and expertise. And
thank you for having me on the show.
That's right. I was going to thank you.
No, this is a big thing for me. This is my TV debut.
Yeah, well, you've done fine. And I hope the audience, I hope you found this informative. And that's it for this Tech Talk. Practice, 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 and we'll see you next month.